A2IM, the collective voice of independent music.
Hello, everyone. I'm Silvio Pietroluongo, Billboard Senior Vice President of Charts and Data Development, and thank you for joining me for Billboard Charts Deconstructed. Billboard has been in existence for nearly 126 years. It got its name from the coverage of outdoor advertising. In its early years, Billboard covered all forms of entertainment, from carnivals, arcades, vaudeville, live music, and eventually sheet music and recorded music. The first national Billboard Songs chart appeared a few weeks shy of 80 years ago, in July 1940. For nearly 2 decades, we had charts for top jukebox songs, top selling songs, and top radio songs, but not one singular chart blending it all together. That arrived with the launch of the Billboard Hot 100 in August of 1958. Meanwhile, our first albums chart appeared in 1945 and became a weekly feature in 1956. For decades, the charts were pretty stable. Airplay and sales were driving our rankings. The sale formats may have changed from vinyl to 8-track to cassette, CD, digital, and now back to vinyl. But we were basically counting sales, transactions, and radio listening. How Billboard measured both airplay and sales changed dramatically in the early 90s with the arrival of monitored airplay and point-of-sale scans. PDS and SoundScan at the time eventually became Nielsen Music, and Billboard has been partners with Nielsen Music for nearly 30 years. Late last year, Billboard's parent company, MRC, purchased the music measurement division from Nielsen Music, and it is now known as MRC Data. MRC Data aggregates sales, streams, and radio airplay for the Billboard charts, and we also use Next Big Sound for social media measurement and a few of our other social charts as well. Billboard and MRC receive that data, most of it daily, from all leading music retailers and streaming services. You can see a sample of the providers that contribute to our charts here. We produce over 250 charts per week. We have charts specific to songs, and some of those are streaming only charts, some are radio charts, whether measured by how many times a song was played, or an audience measurement for radio, and by that, we take Nielsen Audio, formerly Arbitron ratings, and cross-reference when the song was played on a current station. So if you were played at 3 p.m. in New York, we know through Nielsen Audio how many people are estimated to be listening to that station at that time, and you'll be assigned an audience number. So a 3 o'clock play in New York is going to count more on an audience basis than a 3 o'clock play on a top 40 station in Columbus. We also still measure track sales charts for download sales. And for streaming, we count audio and video streams. We're able to tell or distinguish between on-demand and program streams, and also which streams are coming from paid subscribers and which are ad-supported. On the album level, we have charts that just measure total sales, but most of our major charts, like the Billboard 200, have moved to an album consumption method, which we'll explain in a bit, as we will the Hot 100, which takes all the different measurements of songs and blends it together. We have certain charts that are focused solely on artists, and we have charts for touring box score based on total gross ticket sales as reported to us by venues and promoters. Here's a list of some of the genres we have charts for, and we have those in both song charts and album charts. There's many more beyond the ones you see. Now, how we determine genres have often been asked. We look at a variety of factors, including an artist's chart history, metadata, streaming service placement, radio airplay, and examining how and where a label is promoting and marketing songs or albums. And we have a team of experts, chart managers, who actually listen to the recordings to form a determination. 99% of the time, it's pretty crystal clear, and then that other 1% of the time is Lil Nas X. So we run into some interesting discussions, both internally and externally, especially how genres continue to evolve in various formats. Some of the charts we have on an artist level include the Artist 100. We have a formula that blends all the metrics that we receive on a weekly basis, from album sales, song sales, radio airplay, streaming, and social interaction. We slice that down using the same methodology for emerging artists, and that is a list of artists who have yet to reach the top 25 of the Billboard 200 and Hot 100, or have multiple top 10s of any of our genre charts that use the Hot 100 or album consumption formula. We also have the Social 50 chart, which is global data tracked by music analytics company Next Big Sound. It ranks the most popular artists on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Wikipedia, blending additions of friends, fans, followers in a week with artist page view counts and engagement metrics. Other charts we have, I mentioned the box score chart earlier. That chart, along with dance club songs, is currently on hiatus as we deal with the pause of live entertainment during COVID-19. The dance club songs is comprised of over 100 DJs nationally who report to us their most reactive songs as they play live. We have a lyric find chart, which looks at top search lyrics domestically and internationally. We have seasonal charts. They use the Hot 100 methodology of sales, airplay, and stream combination. We just launched the Song of the Summer chart, which aggregates from Memorial Day to Labor Day, takes the total points of the Hot 100 each week, sums it all up as the weeks progress, and right after Labor Day, we announce who the top songs of the summer were. And during the holiday season, we have the Holiday 100, looking at both classic and current Christmas songs from Thanksgiving to New Year's, again, sales, airplay, and streaming combined. We have a top TV songs chart based on how songs, based on song and show data provided by TuneFind, and is ranked using a formula blending sales and streaming information for the corresponding periods, which is usually a month. We have a Facebook Live chart, which looks at the widest reaching and most reacted to videos posted by musicians on Facebook Live. And we have a social chart for our sister publication, The Hollywood Reporter, similar to the Social 50 for music. This looks at actors, comedians, and celebrities who are trending well on social platforms. Now, most Billboard charts are compiled weekly. For sales and streams, that week runs Friday to Thursday. For radio, it runs from Monday to Sunday. The MRC data takes all that information, cleans it up, processes it, sends it to us for us to do our programming on the Billboard side. On Saturday evenings, we get sales and streams. On Monday mornings, we get radio data. The Billboard 200 top 10 is revealed on Billboard.com. We run a story each Sunday afternoon announcing the top 10 of the Billboard 200. We do the same for the top 10 of the Hot 100 on Monday. And then all the charts post on Billboard.com on Tuesday morning. Now we're going to talk about our signature song chart, the Hot 100, which is a hybrid chart with a formula blending streaming, radio audience, and digital sales. We use this formula for other genre charts. And if you see the word hot in front of it, like hot R&B songs or hot country songs or hot rock songs, that means it's using this blended formula. So what we do is take streams, radio audience, and track sales and apply a unique divisor for each. The formula is created to target a chart ratio for each metric, and we update that ratio at least once a year. 5 to 10 years ago, when download sales were the most relevant measurement of consumer intent, that factor was the most dominant on the chart. Today, streaming is the most dominant, with radio the next influential data point, and track sales having the lowest weekly average on the chart. If we look at streams, you can see they're divided into 3 buckets. The highest value is given to paid subscription streams, which if we said X is 100, we divide that by 100. Ad-supported is next in line, and we divide that by 1.5. The lowest streaming value goes to program or song UGC, which is song UGC video streams. We divide that by 2. So in the case, that'd be divided by 200. So we have a 3-tiered system for streams. Now let's turn our attention to the Billboard 200, which until December 2014 was solely based on volume of sales. From that point on, it was switched to a consumption methodology, where 1 equivalent album unit equals 1 album sale, which is the same as 10 track sales of songs from that album, which is the same as 1,250 paid subscription streams of any songs from the album, or 3,750 ad-supported streams. We made an alteration at the beginning of this year, the first time we've done, really had a change to the consumption method since we launched it nearly 6 years ago, in adding official videos, and both on paid and ad-supported tiers. from services from Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, YouTube, and Vivo. The video counts the same as an audio stream, again, split by paid and ad supported. This graph displays a weekly chart average for sales units, streaming equivalent units, and track equivalent units on a weekly basis since we started using album consumption methodology. In week 1, the chart share for sales units was over 80%. You can see that in green. And the share for streaming units in orange was under 10%. Streaming units first passed sales units in late 2016, and after some back and forth, streaming units took over the chart share for good in early 2018. On a recent chart, streaming unit shares were over 85%, with album sales units at around 10%, a total reversal from 6 years ago. I'm going to switch gears and move to the top independent albums chart, which is soon to undergo a methodology change in the summer of 2020. Currently, to be included on the independent albums chart, you need to be distributed independently or through the indie arm of a major label group. For example, Caroline, Ingrooves, 8080, Orchard. Working with the A2IM, we are expanding the exclusion parameters for the chart. So it's the same as the above, but we will also include labels that are independently owned and control their masters, distributed directly through a major label group, being UMG, Sony, or Warner Music Group. An example of this would be Disney and Big Machine, which has their own sales staff, but is distributed by UMG, or Curb, which goes through Warner. So to recap, to appear on independent albums, you either need to be distributed independently, to the indie arm of a major label group, or directly through a major label group. Still excluded are any labels that utilize the sales services of a major label. For example, if the label goes through Atlantic and uses Atlantic or Capitol or Columbia's services, they are not eligible for the independent albums chart. Here's a test chart from a week in May. Within the top 10, you see three new titles, one on Walt Disney, one on Hollywood, and one on Concord that would now appear in the top 10 that would not currently be on the chart. We're often asked many questions on bundles and how they work and contribute to the album charts. Let's start off with ticket album bundles and how the offers are generally promoted. For a ticket album bundle, the sales count upon redemption. The price of an album is bundled into the cost of the ticket. The price for the album is not displayed to the buyer, it's baked into the overall cost. The album's inclusion is promoted to the customer at the beginning of their purchase experience. And after purchasing the ticket, the customer will be given an email prompting them to redeem the album and have it mailed to them or have it downloaded. The only sales that count towards the charts are those albums that are redeemed by the customers. Many ticket buyers do not redeem the offer. So to have a bundle count, it needs to be an album bundled with a ticket to a live in-person event with an artist, and there's certain conditions that apply. So if you are a promoter or manager that'd like to know more specific details, you can email my associate, Keith Caulfield. His email address is there, keithcaulfield@billboard.com, and he'll send you more details about how this works. Now we'll move to merchandise album bundles. Unlike ticket bundles, the sales for these bundles count upon purchase. But starting in 2020, we added some conditions to the offers. For the sale of an album containing a merchandise bundle to count, all of the items in the bundle must also be available concurrently and individually for purchase within the same web store website. Product description must note that items are also available separately for purchase, and the cost of the merchandise album bundle cannot be less than the price of the individual item plus $3.49, which is our minimum allowable price for an album. So basically, if you're selling an item, let's say it's a hoodie with an album, the hoodie must also be made available to purchase separately, and that item alone must cost less than the bundle with the album. So if the hoodie sells for $40 on its own, the least you can charge for that bundle, with the album is $43.49, which is $3.49 more than the hoodie on its own. Other clarifications made for 2020. We just cleared up how merch bundles can only be sold in an artist's official D2C web store or another digital location, which is the artist hub for merchandise, not unofficial third-party sites or in brick and mortar retail. Now, we're not saying that you can't still sell pre-packaged box sets, as we all know them to exist, at physical retail. You can. Or any other pre-packaged good. Sometimes you see a nicely packaged t-shirt album bundle that is sold at retail. That is still fine. But anything of that nature should be sent to us for approval to make sure it's meeting the proper guidelines. We also updated the rules on what is allowable for artist album branding for a merch item. So it's not enough to have a Nike logo on the chest of a t-shirt and an artist's name on the sleeve. There has to be prominent branding for the artist on whatever merch is sold. And we clarify that merch bundles are only eligible for albums. We do not allow merch bundles for singles. I'm going to close with an initiative that we in the entire industry are really excited about. Coming later this year is the first ever global songs chart based on worldwide streams and download sales. It would include data from more than 180 territories. It's going to have a weighted formula incorporating streams on both subscription and ad-supported tiers of leading audio and video music services, and also include download sales from top music retailers. So that's something to look forward to. And that closes my presentation. I thank you for tuning in and paying attention. And I will throw it now to Rosie Lopez for some questions and answers.
Thank you, Silvio. That was
my pleasure.
a great presentation, and it's amazing that you're still that Billboard and Nielsen are still sticking with this, considering how much the business has changed and how many charts there are out there right now. I wanted to first of all thank you, because I know that both Richard Burgess and I have been invited a number of times to partake in conversations up at your offices, and I personally appreciate having a voice, being welcomed, and being listened to from an independent perspective. So thank you so much for thinking of us and for always including A2IM.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, you guys are a vital part of what we do at Billboard and the industry as a whole. So it'd be crazy not to have you be a part of it.
And I'll also say thank you for the hard work on the independent chart. I know that there was a lot of back and forth on what, who we consider to be indies, and, the market share conversation is a tough conversation that we have all the time. I want all the A2IM members to be assured that we always fight the good fight, and Nielsen and the team at Billboard are really great at listening to us and thinking about it and thinking about the, what the decisions mean to us, and so they are listening, and we appreciate that. And so let's start then let's talk about a platform that independent labels and independent artists are really passionate about, and that's Bandcamp. When you mentioned the merch bundle, you did mention that I think you said it was artist hubs, that only official artist hubs. Can you just clarify, because independent labels have different access than majors. Majors can design, a fancy website with a shopping experience for every artist, whereas independents can't. In some cases, we sell merch on our own websites, but in many cases, we lean on a partner like Bandcamp to do the transactional and the financial part for us. So would you happen, I know this isn't your area of expertise and we can push it down the line, but I'm wondering, would Bandcamp sales be included, do you think, in that what's considered an artist hub?
Well, I know we do get sales from Bandcamp. What they're selling specifically, if it's album only or merchandise that comes with album, I don't know enough to say on that point. But if Bandcamp is the hub where certain artists are using for their merchandise sales, and if it's platformed correctly and based to our specific guidelines, then I'm sure it would be something that we would include, or at least consider including. I wish I could be more definitive. I don't have a frame of reference of it in practice for me to know whether it fits the current guideline.
Okay, I'll circle back and we can talk about that.
Anyone's free to reach out to me or to Keith Caulfield at that email that was in the presentation, and we'll be certainly, we're not looking to limit. And as you mentioned earlier, this, the whole world is a work in progress. We want to be able to work with the artists and make sure we're representing the platforms where they're doing, their their merchandise retail.
Great. Can you just quickly explain, and I know that most members know this, but we do have a lot of new junior members, and even artists are starting to get much more active as more and more artists become their own independent label with A2IM. And so I want to make sure that we don't speak so highly above that people miss some important things, like how do you make sure that your music is registered with Nielsen?
Okay, I have an email address to give out. And if you
Okay.
email Nielsen, they'll send you instructions on how to register your songs, albums, even radio encodes. So the email address is music.clientservices@nielsen.com. So music.clientservices, plural, @nielsen.com. And
is
there's
that
no charge to register title.
Great.
That's something that anyone can do.
Okay, great. I've noticed Billboard has done quite a job of playlisting on Spotify and YouTube. You've got 2.7 million subscribers on YouTube, and you've got 1.9 on Spotify, which is fantastic. And so when can we get the independent chart up there?
On the album, well, I'm not sure how many album playlists we have up there, but it's usually song-based, I think.
You have an albums playlist that only has about 18,000 followers. So really, I think we just need an independent singles chart. So maybe we'll start there.
I will. I wish I had control, because I would put all kinds of genres up there, especially the ones that I like, which is about a dozen. But I will forward that thought to our edit team. They control the DSP playlist uploads, and let them know that we have interest in doing that.
Here's where I think, and you touched on it, here's where I think it could be really helpful, and that's the club chart. If the dance club chart was up there, I think it's a place that could potentially allow those artists to get a lot more exposure. Also, I know if I didn't mention my jazz and Americana and metal friends, they don't really fit in on New Music Tuesday, because the New Music Tuesday releases tend to lean pop and R&B and urban. The skip rate is exceptionally high on those playlists, and so I think it sort of does more harm than good to some of those artists, because their skip rates are high, which then punishes them in the algorithm. And so it would be great. I don't know how much work it is, but again, it's if Billboard really is that, the coveted chart, the one that, when we reach that, it means something, then it would be fantastic for us if those charts were somehow represented in playlists where there's really never-ending shelf space now.
I'll certainly look into that and see. I mean, sometimes there's limitations within each DSP on how many we could upload based on the agreements we have. But one thing I think, I didn't mention another new chart that we're launching this summer is we're launching a hard rock songs chart, which will combine like the Hot 100 sales, radio airplay, and streaming. So I know right now that's all blended into hot rock songs, and we're splitting that up as well, so we could focus on some of the harder edge rock songs as well that sort of get pushed down by the more pop leaning rock tracks out there.
Right. Let's see. I think I had another question for you, and it was about just any thoughts on what we do with some of the live touring, is it box score or the club chart? What do we do while live venues are closed? And the idea of counting tickets gets more and more challenging. I mean, I'm sure this is something you've discussed. Is there anything you can share with us?
Be sure that we are having conversations with all the platforms that are exposing music in new ways, or maybe not new ways, but maybe enhanced ways during COVID-19, and that includes live streaming. Is that a box score chart? No, but we actually ran some stories using analysis from bands in town on what is happening on their platform. So, I think that's a good entry point to start looking at specific platforms for live streaming and just exposing, the artists that are making traction on all these different services.
I think you've answered everything else that I had. Oh, I know something. There is a topic that I think has been on everyone's mind, and that's streaming manipulation. And as we know, by adding video and adding YouTube, we had a lot of heavy conversations about how we could make sure that the data that was coming in wasn't being gamed and was real and accurate. If there's anything that you can share that gives a little bit of insight into how Billboard monitors that and sort of the requirements that you've put on these DSPs in order to accept their data, I think it would be good for labels to know.
And I meant to mention it earlier when I referenced video being added to the Billboard 200. Usually every week it accounts for between 3 and 4% of the overall units on a chart, so it's not an overwhelming factor. I mean, but your question applies to all streams, not just video. I mean, you know, we have a team, as I mentioned earlier, of chart managers where we're looking at data that comes in, questioning things that look a little off. We see the volumes every week, and you know, we can make a sort of a initial judgment as to, you know, if things look off. But you know, deep in the trenches, the folks at Nielsen MRC Data are really pouring through that, looking for anomalies. We have you know, constant communication with the DSPs, all of which have their anti-spamming mechanisms in place. And you know, if you hear of things in the news or claims of people spamming or creating bots, you know, the numbers that we end up using just on a weekly basis are not what, you know, the people see, whether it's on a play count or not. I mean, number one, we use US streams, not global streams. Each streaming service has parameters that we set forth where the song has to be played for a minimum length of time. We have caps per user per day on how many times they can, you know, stream a song. So there are these built-in parameters, but beyond that are, you know, the DSPs with their anti-spamming procedures as well. So putting that all together and all the different eyes on it, you know, we can't purport to you know, to catch everything. I don't think anyone can say they're 100% certain, but we're pretty close to that in what comes through.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.